Okay, welcome to the show. This is TED Talks Too Much. And I think we've got another great one for you today. I am Ted Moss, ex-Steamboat Springs dishwasher, stand-up comedian, and your host. We are located in the OK Boomer Studios, just outside of Flint, Michigan. That's right, Flint. Michigan's water wonderland, where they're still waiting for the government to do something about their water. But while we all wait for that, let's talk. And on today's show, we got Mr. Justin Staples, a very young stand-up comedian who moved to New York City with only 10 minutes of material. He's going to talk to us about living in New York, all the comedy clubs he got to work at, and getting high for the first time. We'll be back with all that right after this.
Hello, my friends. This is Harmonious Merkin, your politically correct pundit, protecting the ears, minds, and feelings of people who may be within the receiving range of your thoughtless, casual, but catalyst utterances, here to tell you what you may say and may not say today. Today's topic, racial slurs. At the biannual National Convention for the PCPA, Politically Correct Pundits of America, it has been determined that the white people slurs of both white bread and cracker, while having a lot of carb appeal, are still appropriate, as is honky. But now only with a gender-specific cutout for white women of honkette. Also, a whites-only designation has been given to the slur kimosabi, with others going forward to use K-word sabi, with a special cutout for Native Americans, of course, and those going through treatment for cancer, where chemo is always appropriate. As for petitions for nation change modification, a Central America solution has come to the fore, whereas everyone going forward will refer to Nicaragua just as Ragua. So as always, until things change once again, that is our advice on what you may say and may not say today. And with that, my friends, carry on.
Okay, on today's show, we've got a young man who is an up-and-coming comedian who apparently has balls as big as Buicks. He actually had the guts to move to New York City to pursue his dream with only 10 minutes of stand-up material and a pocket full of magic tricks. I really admire what he did. It sounds like fun. Let's hear all about it and give a big OK Boomer Studio welcome to Mr. Justin Staples. Okay.
What do we, you really don't,
No.
You freeball everything, don't you? There's nothing that you want to start with? Or?
When I date, I don't freeball everything, but on my podcast, I do. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ted.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. You haven't been around in a while.
No, I haven't. I've been in New York, you know.
What up? New York?
Yeah.
Why New York?
I needed to get away from family, but honestly, I moved out there for comedy.
So you wanted to escape from family and you figured you'd go to New York?
I don't think things through, Ted. All right.
No, he just like, I'm fed up with this shit. I'm going to New York. I mean, that was kind of it?
Pretty much, yeah. So I moved out there. I wasn't financially stable, didn't have a job. And I just kind of was like, one of my friends was moving out there. So I ultimately was like, hey, I'm coming with you. And we got an apartment together. And
yeah, hold it, but you didn't have money or a job.
No.
How do you get an apartment with somebody when you don't have money or a job?
I had good credit, at least.
Well, you wrote him an IOU for the down payment or something? What the hell? I mean, at some point, you got to come up with cash, right?
So between you and me and whoever else is listening.
And the other 10,000 people. Okay.
What I did was I kind of begged a lot of people for money.
Oh, you took out personal loans.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Just enough so I can put down the first payment, and then I was like, I'll figure it out when I get there.
Okay, well, that's good.
So,
Well, I would think, were you in New York proper?
I was in New York City. I was in Brooklyn. I was living in Brooklyn, about 5 minutes away from Manhattan.
Oh, well,
So-
apartments there have got to run $4,000 a month or something, I would think.
This one ran 3,000.
Yeah.
So split between all of it. There was one more roommate that was already living there.
Oh,
So it wasn't that much. My total was 975.
yeah.
So,
Okay, well, that's not bad.
but that's just for the room. We still had internet and then the electricity. So it was well over 1,000.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me New York City is a weird place to go because it's so expensive if you don't have a job. But you just figured you knew somebody, so you had a place to stay, and that was good enough for you.
That was honestly, and you know me, we've done comedy together.
Yeah,
so-
we met doing stand-up, right?
So I moved out there for comedy. I was like, oh, that's the greatest place. I can
Yes.
get away from family and do comedy.
Yes.
And I did shows. I did Gotham. I did Dangerfields. I did The Pit. I did multiple open mics. Met a lot of different comics out there. And there's this, can you say names on here?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want, dude. Yeah. You can. We'll get sued, but you can no. You can swear. You can say fuck. You can say, anything you want. It's up to you.
Okay, so I met this guy, Bob DeBono. He's a comic.
Is that a real name, DeBono?
That is.
All right,
Yeah.
good for him. Born with a name for comedy, and now DeBono.
He's actually hilarious too.
Oh, cool.
He runs Dangerfields.
Oh,
And he does an amazing Trump. Now, see, I'm just plugging him. So
Yeah.
if he gets a kickback thing, hit me up, Bob. But
yeah.
long story short, he eventually saw me perform and he was like, hey, I like your style. And I became a every single month kind of guy.
Really?
Yep.
Well, that's also, this is interesting because there's a lot of local guys that do comedy. They're at that mid-level, kind of like me, and think, wouldn't it be fun to go to New York City, but they've never, done it, never got up the courage or the money or the time to do it. So walking into your first time, are you planning on doing like 3 minutes in an open mic and hoping you can be funny fast so they'll give you more time? Is that kind of like the scenario?
Yeah, that's pretty much the mindset that I had. And you've seen my act. I just do one-liners.
Yeah.
So it's easy for me to cut it off whenever I need to.
Yeah, right.
And I was expecting 3 minutes, and then I get up there, I do 3 minutes, and then I didn't see a light. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
This is Dangerfield.
Were you supposed to keep going?
Yeah, they were supposed to flash you down, and then that's when you
and
get
they
up.
didn't.
Never did that. And I saw them in the back, too. They were laughing, so I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going. I did 5 minutes.
Oh, cool.
And then I get off, and they're like, you were great. You want to come back next month? I was like, yes, of course. So then I went back, and it's a bringer, so you have to bring people. I had 8 people this time come to the show.
Well, how'd you get your people first time? Were you standing on the street asking people to go to the show?
I showed up to Dangerfields about 2 hours before.
Yeah.
And I just begged people to come in. I got about 3-4 people to show, and that's why they gave me 3 minutes.
Oh, you get a minute a person?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
But then I did really well, so they want me to come back. And then I brought 8 people this time because at that point, I got a job at Target. So I knew some people, and I kind of begged the people that I was working with to come to the show.
Yeah.
And then when they saw that I had a big crowd coming too, they're like, okay, so we're going to bump you up. You're going to be going on after this guy. And I was like, okay, well, he's knocking it out of the park, so that's great. And then they're like, you're not going to do 5 minutes. You're going to do 8 minutes. And I was like,
Wow.
okay. So,
Cool.
then I did 8 minutes. I stretched out some of the comedy because, 8 minutes, that was a lot for me at the time.
Yeah.
So, but then I did really well again.
Hold on. When you went out there, did you figure you had probably 12 minutes of good comedy total?
I would say 10 minutes good comedy, 15 of lackluster.
Well, hold it. 10 minutes good. What was it? 5 minutes lackluster to go with the 10 good. Is that what you're saying?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Lackluster comedy. Is that comedy that you think is funny but other people don't? Not going to get any laughs, basically. It's going to be kind of amusing, but not ha-ha funny.
Exactly.
All
Where
right.
like I think it's funny, but
Yeah,
it's
you might not.
It's not tested yet.
Yeah.
So who knows if people are going to... I'll be laughing on stage, but...
Yeah. I hope you find
about
this
it.
entertaining. Okay, so you go back and you're going to do 8 minutes, and that went well?
It went so well. That's when Bob was there. And so Bob saw me, and then he was like, hey, who are you? And I was like, I'm Justin. I'm just from Michigan. I just moved here, just trying to do some comedy shows. And he's like, really? I was like, yes. So then he's like, you were actually pretty good. So then he went back. I don't know who he talked to. But then this other guy who was closing out the show comes and talks with me along with Bob. And they're like, hey, you want to come back next month? And I was like, of course. So then I brought more people.
Can you ever get to the point where you don't have to bring people and they let you perform?
If you get on like Fallon, then you don't have to.
What? Just bring your show, no matter how good you get, you still got to bring people.
Pretty much, yeah.
I would hate that.
It was awful, but it was Dangerfields. And same thing at Gotham. I was able to get people to come to Gotham. And then once you get to know the people, like the person in charge of Gotham's, his name's Andy. Once you get to know Andy or Bob, then they kind of, you can text them, harass them to put you on the show, and then say, yeah, I'll bring some people. If you do, you go up on stage.
And if you don't?
And if you don't, well, I got a funny story. You want to hear about that?
Yeah, you had a time you didn't bring anybody to a bringer?
Yeah, so it was going good at Dangerfields, and I kind of knew Bob, but didn't like know him.
Know him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I use that when I'm dating. And sometimes I know you, but I don't know you.
Yes.
But we can work on that. Okay. You didn't know him.
So I didn't know Bob just yet. And
let's know. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Man, this is awful.
It is terrible.
You're cutting this out, right?
No, this is totally, this is the best part. This is the highlight so far, dude.
Oh, no.
Yeah. You didn't know him, but you were thinking about know him.
Exactly.
All right.
So once
you.
I got to know him, then that's when things were starting to pick up at Dangerfields. But this was before where I didn't really know him. And I show up one day, and I didn't have anyone show up. The 5 people that were supposed to show all text me saying they're not coming. And so I'm like freaking out. I'm like, oh, man, I'm not going to get any stage time or anything like that.
Right.
So I keep getting bumped down because they're waiting for people to show up. And so I eventually was like, I just got to.
Well, bumped down, you mean bumped later in the show because nobody has shown up for you. And so they're going, you don't have anybody walking in, dude. So they keep just delaying and not putting you up. Is that what's happening?
Exactly. Yeah, because I was on the list.
So when people walk in, they say, I'm here for so-and-so.
Exactly. And then that will bump you up. Or if they don't say it, you kind of stay there. And then throughout the time that the show's going on, they'll bump you down if they don't see people coming.
Oh, do you ever have people show up because of you but not say they were for you?
No, I force them to. So
you meet them at the door? Make sure.
Yes, I wait at the door, Ted. I don't think
Lordy.
you understand. I'm like, this is for me.
This is desperate comedians here.
You have to do that in New York, especially for these bigger clubs.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the story, then it goes on, and the night goes on, and no one shows up. The booker comes up to me. He's like, hey, you're off the show. And I'm just like, oh. And then he's like, this is the best part. He goes, you can stay and watch the other comics. And so I was like, okay, well, can I at least go in there and sit down? He's like, yeah, of course. So I go in there, I sit down, I'm watching the other comics perform. And then one of the waitresses come over towards me, and they're like, where's your ticket? You have to have a ticket to sit in here. I was like, well, I was a comic. And she's like, you have no ticket. You can't sit here. So I got kicked out of Dangerfields.
Oh, Lord.
After getting kicked off the show.
By the waitress.
By the waitress.
But the guy running the show said it was okay.
Yeah, but he didn't care. So I got kicked out.
The waitress had more pull than the person running the show?
I guess so.
Couldn't you appeal it to a higher court and go talk to Roger or whoever the hell it was? No?
No, dude. So I got kicked out.
So you had to walk. They walked you.
Pretty much, yeah. So,
I thought you were going to say she came over and said, dude, how come you aren't going up? You're hilarious. I remember you. But no, she's coming over to kick you out.
She came over just to kick me out. Didn't even offer me water. And so I got kicked out.
Oh, Lord.
And on top of that, my computer, my Mac, died earlier that day, and I'm just like, man, I'm just gonna jump in front of a train.
It was a horrible day.
It was awful.
Terrible. I remember getting some, I don't want to say a raft of shit, but I remember having a problem with some waitresses at Mark Ridley's one time. I went out there and I was on a show. I don't think I was hosting. I think it was an open mic. I think it was one of Joel's open mic, and he knew me, so he just,
threw you a bone, kind of.
Yeah, he said, yeah, we want you up. Go ahead. Yeah, that'd be cool. So, and I went to get a water, and the girl behind the bar gave me a water. Well, the waters at Mark Ridley.
Oh yeah, I've had those.
Are only as big as your fist.
Yeah.
They're mini.
Like little shots.
Yeah. And she gave me a water. I popped it, took a drink. And this other waitress came over and said, wait. And I said, what? She said, you got to pay for that water. And I said, I don't want to buy a water. I don't want to buy this water.
It cost you $5.
No, I think it was $1 or something like that. I said, well, I'm on the show. She said, are you hosting? I said, no. She said, then you got to pay.
Really?
That's what I said. I said, wow. I said, okay, well, here's your water back.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah. No, it's probably not the smart thing to do. And it was, Ridley's the biggest club around, so it's probably all justified. But in my mind, I thought, well, you can't give it to me and then take it back. You can say next time you got to buy, But, the waitresses have a lot of pull, like at that club.
Dangerfields, yeah.
Yeah, you're out, dude. You're out.
Since we're talking about awful stories, when I was at Gotham, I did a show at Gotham Comedy Club in New York. And then after the show, I meet up with Andy, and he's like, hey, I do this improv class. I'm like, oh, that's sweet. I'll take an improv class.
Yeah.
Because I'm down to do whatever. So he's like, I go to this improv, like, kind of, you didn't have to pay for this improv because it's kind of like a meet and greet kind of thing.
Hold it.
So
I got
go
a free improv class?
One time.
Okay.
It was kind of like a meet and greet. So I met Andy, and that's when I got to know Andy.
Oh, it's like a heroin deal. They're just trying to get you addicted. Like,
exactly.
I want to be a part of this.
Well, you're absolutely right, because after I met him, he was like, okay, so it's going to be $300 to take this class.
Yeah.
And me being the smart person that I am, so I gave him $300. And then the apocalypse hits, and then, everything shuts down.
Oh, the lockdown.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's no class.
No classes, and so I'm out $300.
No. He's got to give you your money back.
I thought so. I paid cash, though, so I can't.
Well, he's still got to give you your money. It doesn't matter
back.
how you paid. I mean, if you get in an argument, he said, no, you didn't pay, that'd be one thing. But if he says, yeah, you did pay, and you're on the list, I remember you paid, I got you checked off as paid, he's got to pay you back or give you the class. Now, if the class is at a different time, I don't think you really got to even take the class then. You can say, dude, I can't then. I'm out of state. I'm gone or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think they still owe you the money.
What I bought was like a year-long voucher, so I could take whatever kind of class I wanted to.
Oh.
So.
Well, then they don't owe you the money back until the year's up.
Yeah. Or I go back to New York and
well, if they offer something within the year, then you either take it or you don't. But if they don't offer anything for a year, they would owe you your money back.
Hopefully. I really need that.
Yeah. All righty. Well, did you move back home to your parents' house? Is that where you're at now?
No, that's the last thing I want to do, Ted.
I'm renting a room, dude. I'm not, it's.
I might take you up on that, honestly.
It's a bringer. If you can bring enough women, you can have a room, dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You
double date?
Every time you come home, you got to come home two women. Oh. And then you can sleep here. If you only bring one home, you can't stay here.
We could share.
Well, no. Well, no. Do I get to be first? No, I need the money. I'm unemployed.
Gotcha. So you don't do anything?
I do this. I podcast, dude.
Oh.
That's what I do, yeah. Well, I'm old. I'm old. And at some point, you quit. At some point, you retire, and I kind of retired.
Oh.
You knew that, didn't you? Probably didn't know that.
No, we don't really have these kind of conversations.
I had a legitimate job for a lot of years. I was, for 30 years, I was an electrical manufacturer's rep. I sold industrial and commercial lighting to wholesalers, but we sold millions of dollars of commercial lighting every year. That's what I did for 30 years.
And I work at Target, so
yeah, that
doesn't really stack up.
That's different. That's not the same thing.
Not really the same thing,
well,
is it?
No. Now I called on architects and engineers, and then I bid on projects. And so I did lighting design, and I trained people on how to do lighting design, that kind of stuff. So.
Oh, wow. Now you're podcasting? Amazing podcast.
Yeah, I've really moved uphill, haven't I? Well, actually, I retired, got out of it about 8 years ago, and then I wrote my book and coached my daughter. And
what's your book called?
Look out, I'm parenting here. A survival guide for the single parent. You're helping me plug my book. Nobody's buying it. On Amazon. Yeah. Actually, I used to go around and lecture on parenting. I did that for a while, and I blogged on parenting, how to be a single parent and all that kind of stuff. Oh, so that was interesting. But, when you get to be old like me, you have your career.
40s?
Dude, I'm going to be 68 this year. Me and Dirt are in competition for what's the oldest, I mean, I wasn't born in the year time began, but was shortly thereafter.
Oh, I gotcha. Jesus was like, oh, look at Ted.
Yeah, well, the dinosaurs had come and gone, and then there we were. Yeah, so, but I had a ton of jobs. I mean, before I had my career, I probably had 20 different jobs. I had 5 jobs at one time.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I always was having, I had a job since I was little. I swept in front of stores when I was 6 years old. I had a paper out when I was 12. I was managing like 15 people when I was 15 years old. I always had to work. I paid my way through college, shoveled asphalt, ran jackhammers, did all that stuff.
Now people complain if they have 2 jobs. You're over here with 5 jobs.
Well, actually, that was when I was a ski bum in Steamboat Springs, and I went out for the winter and only had $70 in my pocket. So my strategy was to ask for a job wherever I went. Anytime I walked into a store to look at clothing or went in a restaurant to get something to eat or whatever, I said, is the manager here? And I'd find the manager and say, are you hiring? And I just kept doing that everywhere I went. And then where we were staying, I said, well, you guys have a kitchen and you have a cook, but we can't afford meals. So how about if me and my buddy work 8 hours one day, and then you give us 1 meal a day for the week? And they did that. And then there was a private girls' school, and a guy needed help as a maid. So I was a maid in a private girls' school, making beds and that kind of stuff. And I was a dishwasher on Sundays at a restaurant. And then I kept asking for a job at the top of the gondola. I mean, that was the job I wanted. Yeah, there was a restaurant up there, and the manager was this cute girl, and she's 21. And
well, that's why.
That's not why. It was a perk, but that's not why. The reason why is because you had to ride the gondola to work. Mm-hmm. And back in those days, they gave you a free season's pass to ski for free. So eventually I got a job at the top of the gondola and only worked 3 days a week. Only worked like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's when all the tourists were there. Then throughout the whole week, I could ski free all day, every day. And because I worked at the restaurant, I ate for free because my buddies would toss me burgers and stuff.
See, that's a better peak than.
That was a great
better perk.
Yeah, better perk or peak.
Peak wherever you're.
Yeah, well, I remember getting stoned with the manager in the gondola in the 20-minute ride up to the mountain before I went to work. It was a cool job, man.
Oh man, back in
my hippie days,
I only ever hit the bong one time, and it was the worst experience of my life.
Really?
Yes.
Do you want to share that?
No. Not even my own family knows about this.
Well, you don't have to share.
I'm going to, because you're better than family. So
I'm going to send a copy of this to your family. You know that, right? That's going to be played in your church.
Tag all of my friends.
Your church is going to be tagged. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So I went over at my ex's house. We were dating, and then it's like the weird friendship thing after you date someone.
Are you trying to get out of the friend zone and she just kind of has you hovering there?
No, not anymore.
You're okay being friends?
I'm totally okay with being friends because I like her. I like her best friend. So, I'm trying to get with her.
You're trying to do the friend jump.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
I've done that before.
Really?
I think I can try it again.
Dude, you've been successful?
I have, yes.
Doing the friend jump?
I have, yeah.
Oh, man. The friend jump
is awful.
That's one step short of the sister jump. The friend jump is tough. Sister jump is almost impossible.
I did not even know that it existed. I got to try that out now.
I did the twin sister jump.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so after this, you got to share that then. That's how this works, right?
Yeah, maybe I was just confused. Who knows?
Maybe they just said that they were sisters.
Yeah. So anyhow, yeah, they happen to look exactly the same. What a coincidence. All right. So anyhow, you go over to your
I go over
ex-girlfriend's.
to my exes and the girl that I like there, her best friend's there too. So
Oh.
obviously I'm going to show up. And they're all hitting the bong. And keep in mind, I didn't smoke. I still don't really smoke, but I didn't smoke at all back then.
Not cigarettes, not anything.
Nothing. I just drink
Right.
a lot.
Well,
But
yeah. Don't be proud of that, dude. Downplay that.
I don't drink. And so, so I went over there. They didn't tell me how to do it or anything. And this bong was pretty big too. And so
Well,
they're
they
like,
were probably stoned when they were
Probably.
handing it to you, and they assumed you had been watching or knew how to do it from
well,
previous experience.
that's the thing. I got there late. So they definitely were stoned.
Yeah, there were no
then-
capacity. They had no capacity to teach you anything probably at that
It
point.
just didn't tell me. And so I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh, I know how to do this.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I burned all the way down my throat into
God.
like my chest. And I was
Oh,
like, this
God.
is the worst experience. I can't breathe. My cotton mouth everywhere. It's
Yeah.
so awful.
Well, did you know you were high, or did you just feel weird?
No, I just felt like my whole body was on fire. So I just,
Yeah. Well, that was immediately after, but I mean, like 10 minutes after, were you dizzy or feeling
No,
nothing?
Honestly, I was too focused on trying to drink water to like try to cool that sensation, that burning feeling that I had. So ever since then, I'm like, no, I can't do it. But now I'll like smoke weed and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I've never hit another bong.
Well, the
I can't
bong
do it.
head is just weed through a big pipe.
I know.
The bong's just a big pipe.
I know. I don't know.
Have you ever
I
tried
had
a
a bad
water
experience.
pipe?
No, that sounds too advanced for me. So
No. Well, the nice thing about a water pipe is the smoke goes down a tube into the water and then bubbles up, and the water cools it off. And if you have a flavoring in the water, mint or something, it makes the smoke mint taste. And then when you inhale, you inhale the air above the water, so that causes a vacuum, makes more air go down through to bubble up. So you're inhaling the cooled off smoke that's flavored by the water. So a water pipe is really good. And you can have multiple, outlets. So 3 people can smoke at once. Everybody has their own, little thing they suck on to smoke. So
I think I'll put that in my Rolodex of things that I got to do.
yeah, try that one time.
One time.
Yeah. Oh, I remember. Well, see, I went to college when people were starting to grow their hair out long, and I was one of the few people that had long hair when I arrived at college. And so the first time I ever smoked pot, I always thought, when I get to college, I'll try it, because we had some kids in high school, and
You
I
got to
thought,
at least try something.
yeah, you got to be wild. You're away from home. You got to do something. So I thought, why not? I had been smoking cigarettes for a couple of years. I thought I'll try this. So, as we moved in the dorm, have you ever lived in a dormitory?
No, I haven't.
Okay, when you move in, the first day, everybody's moving in on the same day. And so what you do is you move your crap in your room, and everybody's room is pretty much identical. And then you kind of hang out by your door and meet people as they walk by, because they're fresh too. They don't know anybody, and everybody's, pretty
right.
friendly and being nice. 'Cause, you don't know who you're going to hang out with, but you're just introducing yourself. So we're all kind of looking at each other and figuring out who's who or what. And this other long-haired dude comes in, and he sees me, and I say hi to him like everybody else. Well, he picks me out of the group. Is probably, a stoner or somebody who want to get high. And he's like, dude, you want to do some smoke? I'm like, yeah. And I had never done it before. But I had seen the movies. They had these scare movies when I was like in junior high of these guys going out in this parking lot, sitting in this car and filling with smoke and getting busted by the cops and all that. And I'm like, yeah, where are we going? He goes, we're going to go to my car.
Oh, jeez.
I thought, just like the frickin' movie. I thought, okay. And so we get down and get in the car, him and this other guy and me. And I'm used to smoking cigarettes, so we're going to smoke all the same cigarette, which is kind of a weird thing to if you haven't ever shared a joint before. So
I've passed it around. Yeah. It's weird though.
Yeah, it is weird, and especially if you've never done it. And it was a joint that was rolled in American flag cigarette papers.
Oh, nothing patriotic like that.
I'm going, yeah, this is like real hippie shit, you know? And we start smoking, and the car starts filling up with smoke. And I'm thinking, God, I'm in that frickin' movie that I saw in 8th grade. This is weird. And so it gets down to where it's like, I don't know.
It gets too small.
Well, you're supposed to smoke it until it's gone, until it's just totally gone. But it gets down to about a ½ inch, 3/4 or something. And I'm like, no, I'm done. I've had enough.
That's where I bounce too.
I'm like, that's enough. They said, no, this is when it gets good because all the stuff gets in. I'm like, no, dude, I'm good. I'm like, how far are you going to smoke this thing? Because like cigarettes you put out, they got a filter. You put them out when they're an inch long. I'm like, dude, we've done enough. I'm good.
I'm good. I got my fill kind of thing.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm high at all.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we walk back in, walk up 4 flights, get back up to where we're supposed to be. And I'm meeting more people, and I'm walking up and down. And I'm standing about 4 rooms away from mine out in the middle of the hallway talking to these 2 guys. And I'm just kind of looking at one, looking at the other while they're talking. I'm not saying a lot. And I go blind. I go totally blind. I don't pass out. I'm still standing up. I can still hear the voices. And I can't see shit. My whole world is black.
Oh, no.
They're totally black. And they walk away. And I'm like...
They walk away and you can't see.
Well, the conversation ended. Yeah, they walked away, and
it's fine.
I just met him, so I didn't mention the fact. By the way, guys, I am now blind. I wasn't when I arrived in this conversation 20 seconds ago, but I'm now blind. And so they walked away, and I'm thinking, I don't know if people are like watching me. I don't know what's going on. And
Did you walk around?
No, I put my hands kind of out behind me, and I kind of backed up until I backed into a wall. And then I sat down. I just scooted down and sat at the bottom of the wall. And I sat there for probably about, it felt like 2 minutes. Probably was a minute, 45 seconds to a minute, totally blind. And then all of a sudden the world turned back on. It's like a dimmer just came back. You're back.
God said.
I'm like, holy shit.
Let there be light.
And so I get up and go, well, I better go back to my room, which is down at the end of the hall. So there's all these people in the hall, and I'm navigating. I get down to my room, and I'm just kind of trying to stand outside. And somebody said, dude, what's wrong with your eyes? And I said, nothing. And then they're all red. I said, I'm okay. You're stoned, aren't you? And I'm like, oh, shit. I haven't been high for 10 minutes and I'm caught. I'm like, what? I don't even know who you are. You're a fucking narc. I'm in trouble.
I can barely see you.
Out. Yeah, I just got my vision back. And now I'm in trouble. You're going to call the cops. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, no, I'm fine. And I go in my room and lay down on that was my first time getting high.
Oh man, see,
it is now on the movie for 8th graders to scare them away from pot.
I can say that I've actually never been high before. I've been drunk many times, but never high.
Yeah. Well, it didn't deter me because I got to the point where I smoked every day at some point. It was back in the day. We did LSD, mescaline.
Oh yeah, of course.
We did everything. We did that. We didn't do heroin. No. But we did everything else.
Including whole lot of graphic design, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, that's one thing that I tell everyone, especially in New York, everyone was like, hey, did you go to school? And obviously, yeah, I went to school. I went to Specs Howard.
Went to kindergarten.
Yeah, I went to kindergarten.
I was in high
dropped
school.
out in 2nd grade.
No, my parents didn't send me to school. No, I was homeschooled. I don't know.
You were homeschooled? Really?
No, I wasn't. No, there was no. I grew up half a century ago. When I grew up, there was no homeschooling. If you stayed home, you were playing hooky. They had guys patrolling for kids on the street. It's like old-fashioned days.
I was homeschooled only for a year though, and then I was like, okay, send me back.
So anyhow, they asked you if you went to school.
I went to school.
Graphic design or something.
And I went to Specs Howard School. It was awesome. But I went to Specs Howard after I went to Schoolcraft College for graphic design.
Oh,
And
I did some graphic design for you.
I know I could have been making all those.
Easily. Yeah. Yeah. You're beating me up to, hey, give me more. I'm like, dude, this is not what I do.
Yeah. So I went to school for graphic design, and everyone at the Target in Brooklyn, they're like, so you went to school? And I was like, yeah, I went to school for graphic design. And then I also went for a TV radio broadcast over at Specs Howard. And I work at Target. So
Yeah, things are really looking up for my career.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really
so
going up.
you got to have your kids do this, follow my path.
Yeah, I clearly know what I'm doing with
But
my
you're
life.
young. How old are you? You're young.
I just turned 27.
Yeah, well, you're young. You have time. You have
I
two more
feel
years.
old.
You have two
At
more
least
years
two
till you
more.
decide. Yeah.
At least 2 more. See, already feel like I'm 40, though. I feel so old. I wake up, I got
quit it.
aches,
Oh, quit it.
everything.
Oh, quit it. Good God. Good God. Can you imagine living in my body?
No, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I don't see. My life has actually been slowing down. Maybe it picks back up in 30, but
how's it been slowing down?
I don't know. It just feels like everything's just like falling into place. Not the stuff that I want to fall into place, but like, a job, secure job, and just.
Well,
not really.
you know how life goes, right? You end up on a path. You know that, right?
Yeah.
And you don't get to choose the path. I don't know if you know that. But at some point, you're going to find out that you don't get to choose the path. You get to choose a direction. And you think you're going this direction on this path, and you get on that path, and things keep interfering with you. And so you get bumped off it. It's like, yeah, dude, every time I try and do this, it didn't working out. Well, the universe is telling you you're on the wrong path, dude. I mean, close, but no cigar. It's okay if you go this way, but maybe you ought to move over to the next path over. Try that.
I definitely will, because that's how I kind of feel like, I feel like some things are falling into place, but other than that, it's like always a miss kind of thing.
Tim Finkel was on, and he said that expression, if you fail, try again. He said, no, at some point, fucking give up.
Yeah.
Just quit trying that, because you are meant to do that. The worst thing you can do in life, and what people end up doing, I don't know why, is they insist that they're going to do something they can't do. They insist that this is what they want to do, and they're no freaking good at it. And they try, and it doesn't work, and then they're frustrated. Well, dude, you've never been good at it. I mean, what? No kidding. But, everybody has talents. Everybody has abilities. Everybody is a mixed bag of things. And so what you need to do is try lots of things, and some things will work better than other things. And you go, oh, that kind of worked. That was kind of easy for me. Who knew?
Yeah, that's with magic with me. Magic's super easy. I grasp it really, really well. And so that's why I do it sometimes at the shows, because...
Yeah, you do magic in your comedy.
Yeah, it's super
hilarious.
easy for me. Thank you. That's probably the only funny thing when I disappear off stage. But like...
Yeah. But you like it, and you probably practice it, and it's easy, and you're really, dexterous to manipulate things with your hands or fingers?
Just with cards, I feel like I'm really good with cards.
Yeah.
But I don't know, something about it. I started just with silly Facebook pictures or videos where I'd put like my phone in a balloon and other things in balloons.
Yeah.
I went on like this balloon spree. And so I was putting everything in a balloon. And then it got really good reception on Facebook, and people were laughing and liking. And I'm just like, that was super easy too for me. I can figure this out. So then I went over to cards, and I just posted another small video of me playing with cards and doing a silly trick where I have their card fly out of the deck, and I catch it, and it's their card, and that got really good reception. I was like, maybe I'm pretty good at magic. We talked earlier about me trying to learn guitar and all that stuff, and you have to practice to get good at it. So I didn't practice, and I don't play guitar or anything like that. But with magic, it was kind of like started off as a hobby, and then I liked it, so I just continued. And now I'm not the best magician. I'm not even good, I think, but I enjoy it. So.
Well, the thing is, it makes you unique. And I think you could do comedy with magic, but you have to decide how the comedy works with magic. I saw there was two guys. I think they were Asian guys, and they did some magic. They had a piece of paper or cardboard or something. It was about the size of a door. It was a stiff thing, and they brought it on stage and they walked behind it. And one stood on one side and came out, and the hand grabbed him and pulled him back in. And then they turned it sideways and went up and down the escalator behind the thing. They were doing all these illusions.
Right.
But it was hilarious. It was funny. And I think when you do your magic, it would be interesting. And it's not up to me to critique your set.
Critique away.
But it'd be interesting for you to do magic accidentally. Like, say you're going to do one thing and then not do it, and then turn around to show that the card's on your back and you don't even know it. Like, you're unwittingly successful at magic. And that'd be funny because it's a surprise that you're really great at it. And you're like, I don't know. I think
I messed up.
Yeah, I'm messing it all up. And so through the whole thing, you're enthusiastically bad, but you're really brilliantly good. And that's the funny part. And they're kind of getting a laugh. They're laughing at you because you don't know how good you are, that the magic is happening, or you're revealing the trick. You're showing that the rabbit's already in the hat accidentally. The funny part is where you're messing up. I think
I gotcha.
Yeah. I think
I'll try that out.
Yeah, I don't think you want to be a prop comic. Like, you don't want to be Gallagher.
I never wanted to be one. That's why it's so small in my act. Just like the very end, I do a little bit of magic because I don't want to have like 15 different props all over my body. And
yeah,
I never was into that. But having like just a deck of cards or like small flowers, something I'm okay with.
Yeah, but I think there's a way to make that really funny. I mean, using the same tricks you already do, but making them funnier. What do they call it when you take a set and you kind of pump it up a little bit? I think
Improve.
No, they say I'm going to do something to the set. I can't remember what it's even called right now, but anyhow, I think there's a unique thing you can do to set yourself apart. But I think you've got to think of the different variations of it. Johnny Carson was a magician.
Love him.
Steve Martin.
Yes.
Started out doing magic at Disney World. Did you know that? Or Disneyland?
I didn't know he started off doing magic.
Yeah, he was selling. He was working at he's working sales at Disneyland at some shop, and they sold magic tricks. And so he had to learn how to do the tricks to sell the tricks. And so then he started performing for people. And that's kind of where his whole performance thing started.
I won a free deck of cards, though. I went to Vegas with a couple of my buddies. And I was like, okay, well, since I'm in Vegas, got to go to the casinos.
Yeah.
There's always magic people in casinos.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I want to see what they got. I went up to this magic area, and this guy was playing cards. I'm like, oh, well, I'm pretty savvy with the card tricks. I understand how to do those.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I'm watching. He impresses this huge crowd of people. And
does he impress you?
Not at all. Because I know I know what he's doing.
Yeah.
So
he's dealing seconds and doing all this thing.
Exactly.
And you're going, I get it. He's pulling that back when he does this. And
Yeah. So I see his hands and I know what he's doing.
Right.
And his downfall was one, having me in the audience because I kind of knew what he was doing.
Yeah, but you weren't telling the other people.
No, I wasn't.
You were saying, aha, did you see? He just pulled that back.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
No, but...
You are wrecking the show.
No.
Okay.
But his trick... You can't have audiences all around you.
Right.
And he had audiences all around him.
Yeah.
And
so you're back at this angle where you're
And I was at that angle where I could see all of his hand
Side
tricks.
and back a little bit. Yeah.
And so after I go up, I'm like, that was a really good show, just lying to him. And
yeah, but the performance could have been good.
Yeah.
You know how he presented it. That might have been great.
The
and if
performance was.
the vast majority of the people enjoyed it, yeah, that is good.
Yep. And so I went up to him and I was like, hey, could I show you a trick? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, okay, but here's the stake. See that deck of cards? I'll pay for them, and then I'll throw you $10 as well for the performance if you can figure out what I did. If you can't, I get the free deck of cards. And I walked away with a free deck of cards.
He couldn't figure out your trick?
out what I did.
No kidding.
Yeah, at Vegas.
Wow, that's like Penn and Teller. Fool me. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so I First thing
is
I
it
did.
because you were? Did you? Is it because you were really good at what you did? You picked the trick that you knew you really had down.
I was
really
practicing the trick earlier because I'm like, just in case I run into one of these magicians.
Oh, so you had this plan?
Yeah.
Ah.
So then when I ran into the magician, I was like, oh, I got this trick down.
Yeah.
There's no way. And it was just him.
So he stood straight in front of you.
Exactly. So
Yes.
no blind spots, nothing. No one's
Yeah.
being like, hey, look at what he did. That's what he did where he had blind spots. And that's how I got to see his trick.
Yeah.
It was just him and I. So he didn't see any of the things that I did. And I was able to fool him. And
That's awesome.
I got a free deck of cards.
That's awesome. That's great. You know, when I was down in Key West, have you ever been to Key West? Mm-hmm. Have you ever been down on the pier at Sunset on Key West?
I have not, no.
Oh, wow, I'm surprised.
We should go, right?
Yeah.
With girls, obviously. I don't want to know you, Ted.
Exactly. Hey, what I was going to tell you is I ran into a situation when I went out to Seattle. I rode the train out there to see my daughter, and I thought I'd do a open mic because I was out there. And it was a short set. It's kind of like what you're talking about with New York City. Mm-hmm. But it was not a bringer show, which was cool. And
those are always the best kind of shows when you don't have to bring people.
Yes, exactly. Anyhow, I got ready to do it, and it was the only time anybody in my family had ever watched me perform. My son-in-law decided to come out to watch me, and nobody in my family has ever seen me perform. No friends of mine have ever seen me perform except for two guys out of my golf league and their wives or something like that one time. Nobody, no neighbor, no friend, no business associate, nobody has seen me perform. So it was kind of weird. But anyhow, my son came out to watch me perform, and it was a short set. And I'm not used to doing short sets. It was like
You got 5 minutes?
I think it was 4. It was
That was really short then.
Yeah, it was. Well, it wasn't 3, but it was 4. It was like, and my closer that I'm known for pretty much, that finder, chatter, caller bit, is like, depending on how I tell it, 2 minutes 30, 2 minutes 45, and I know that. Mm-hmm. And so my opener is probably another minute 30 or something like that. And so I figured I'd put those two together and add a hello to that. I got my time. That's it. And so I'm watching these guys perform, and nobody's very good. They're all kind of pretty mediocre. Well, it's an open mic.
Right.
And, it's people just trying out stuff, and that's fine. And, I'd been doing stand-up for 6 years, and I was doing shows that were beyond open mic.
I can just imagine you adding open mic.
Well, it was okay.
Everyone's like drinking, not paying attention. You go up there.
They go, what the hell? Who turned on the comedy?
Yeah.
So anyhow, I went up and I said hello, and then I did my opener, then I did my closer, and I'm pretty good with the time. I'm pretty, I know how long these things are.
I'm the same way.
And I'm like, thanks, that's my time. I'm out. My name's Ted Moss. Those are my thoughts. I'm out. And I walked to the back, and the guy running the show said, why didn't you keep going? And I'm like, you told me 4 minutes. He said, I know, but I didn't give you the light. And I thought, what am I supposed to do? I just did my closer. Now here's something not quite as funny as that. I thought I'd add this on the end just to kind of
that's exactly
bring you all down.
I know that exact thing because going back to the whole Dangerfields and when I just kept going.
When you got the extended time, you're
3
like,
minutes.
Now what?
3 minutes. I was like, okay, I do one-liners, so I can do these one-liners, and then I'll do my closing thing, which is roughly about 2 minutes or whatever. Right. So I did that.
Right.
And then after I looked up, no light, I'm like, what do I do? Yeah. And I'm on stage. I'm like, oh, jeez.
Yeah. I guess I better talk some more.
Nothing's going to beat that because that's my closer.
Yeah,
but I guess
that was it. I just peaked. I'm out.
Yeah. I don't really. So
I will cuddle with you for a while, but I'm done, basically.
Pretty much. So I just padded it with a little bit more one-liners, and luckily it went over well.
But you hate to end on something weak.
Yep.
You hate to go, now I'm just stumbling around. So, and people that don't do stand-up don't get this. But if you've done it for a while,
they see it.
Yeah, well, you want to end with your closer. You want to end on a strong note. Even at a bad show, you go, you know what, I'm going to give you my best shot right before I get out of here, and this is what I got. Hopefully, I'll leave you laughing. But beyond that, I don't know what you do.
There's this small venue called The Pit that I did in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And
You had to do, what, dozens of places out there, I would think.
tons. There's this website called freemics.com, and that's how I got booked for a lot of open mics out there. Was you can select the states. So I chose New York City, and then they have tons and tons of people post on there. So that's how I was able to do like a Broadway show, and that's how I did a couple other shows. But
You did a Broadway show?
not like Broadway, but no, I did like a. No, I can't sing, so if that tells you anything right there. So
So the stage, dim the lights, here tonight.
I used to work in theater, but no, I never could go back.
Yeah.
People in theater are way too stuck up, and so
Really?
yeah,
It's kind of a closed group.
they are. And me being the outsider, as I usually am, they were like, no outsiders.
You know,
This is our
I hung out with some theater people when I was in college, just because there was some cute girls that were theater
Oh, of
people.
course.
Yeah, they were like cute, but I
Yeah.
never could figure out who they were because I don't think they knew who they were. It's like they're always playing somebody. They were all kind of like a version of Robin Williams that's just doing lines for different things all the time. You're like,
You never get the actual person.
Yeah, settle into a character.
Yeah.
Just be that person, because I'm losing focus.
Yep. Well, that I don't know if you watched the Chris Farley thing that just came out on Netflix.
No.
It's like a documentary about his life and
Yeah.
all that. And so a lot of people, they were like, you get to this part and they're like, hey, so Chris Farley, once he went to his apartment, that's when you really, really got to see who Chris Farley was.
Yeah.
But whenever he's not at his apartment, he revs up into this caricature of him.
Yeah, he was
and
on.
he's ready for the stage time. And I feel like that's a lot with the theater people, is they're
Yeah.
always at that where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't really have me. It's, I'm playing this character, or I'm trying to, be like Jared Leto and just,
Why do you think that is? Do you think they don't know who they are, or they just enjoy acting so much they're practicing their acting, or they're finding what they think would be appropriate or fits in or will get a laugh or get the attention at that moment? Or what do you think?
Well, with the people who I've talked to, they said that, you can lose yourself. And so if you hate who you are, acting's perfect, because then you can get away from your life and your problems, and just now you're Roseanne Barr or whatever. And so,
Yes, you are.
and all her problems.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's what I think is, you really lose yourself, especially if you're really good at acting or theater. You lose yourself in that role, and then you pretty much become that person.
It's a really weird job. You know what?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not knocking actors, but it's a weird job in that you're playing dress up.
You are.
You're playing dress up all the time.
That's why I couldn't do theater.
And you're doing make believe. Your whole life is about doing these little make believe shows, and it doesn't sound like a very mature thing to do. And somebody said, I can't remember who said it. I did not come up with this, but somebody said, anytime you, because they all wear makeup, anytime you scratch an actor, underneath you'll find an actress.
That's good. I thought you were going to go like, they're just wearing too much makeup, and
No,
so
well, you have to. You have to
with the
show up
stage
under
lights.
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for today. I want to give a special thanks to Mr. Justin Staples for making it such a good one. Isn't he a very cool and magical young man? Also, remember, you can contact me at tedtalkstoomuch@yahoo.com. And you can follow me on Instagram for all my show previews at Ted Talks Too Much. Or just go directly to the website tedtalkstoomuch.com for a list of all the shows. If you liked the show, if you laughed out loud, if you had a good time, please share. I'd really appreciate that. That would help me out. And also in my notes, you're going to find a dream guest list. If you can hook me up with any of these people, if you know people who know people, help me out. I think they'd be some pretty great interviews. But thanks for listening. And like always, be kind to each other out there and try to be happy. Until next time, I'm Ted Moss. Those are my thoughts. And with that, Bob's your uncle.